On today's show, the luxury car tax on EVs just got a tiny bit better for Australians. Hyundai ships a fuel cell truck to Europe, and Tesla Level 5 autonomy. Will it happen? Let's talk about it. Welcome everyone, my name's Chris, and if you're into EVs, battery storage, solar, wind, you name it, you'll probably come to the right place. Subscribe, it does support the channel. If you want to take it to the next level, join these awesome individuals over here, Ashley Hill, Nigel Farrier, Ray Johnson, and Tessa Nagom, along with a lot of other awesome guys and girls on Patreon, where you get early access, news, polls, stuff that you just don't get here. Alright, let's get straight into the news, okay? And first up, the world's first fuel cell heavy duty truck, the Hyundai Xcient? How do you say it? I think that's how you say it. It's about to head to Europe for commercial use. The Hyundai Motor Company has shipped its first 10 units of the Xcient. Can we just agree I'm not going to say that anymore because it's ridiculous. However you say this word, it's just been trucked over to Switzerland. This is the world's first fuel cell truck, which can travel approximately 400 kilometers on a single charge, fully loaded. The truck is powered by a 190 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell system with a dual 95 kilowatt fuel cell stacks. 7 large hydrogen tanks offer a combined storage capacity around 32 kilograms of hydrogen. The driving range per charge of the Xcient fuel cell is about 400 kilometers, which was developed to provide a balance between the specific requirements from the potential customer fleet, like customers, and charging infrastructure in Switzerland. Refueling time for each truck takes approximately 8 to 20 minutes. Now, is that a long time? Any truck drivers out there, can you please let me know? Because I appreciate that your tanks are way larger than what we have in our cars. So I think that's actually a very comparable time to how long it would take to refill a typical internal combustion engine truck. The dual-mounted fuel cell system provides enough energy to drive the heavy-duty trucks up and down the mountainous terrain in the region. Hyundai Motor is developing a long-distance tractor unit capable of traveling 1,000 kilometers on a single charge and equipped with an enhanced fuel system and with high durability and power, aimed at the global markets including North America and Europe in a larger sort of capacity. This year, Hyundai plans to roll out 50 of these trucks and with a total of 1,600 units by 2025. Thoughts? Well, to me, until the Tesla Semi hits our roads, and the Nikola, whenever they're coming out with theirs, I think that hydrogen is a much better alternative so long as you're using renewable power to get it, and using electrolysis and not fossil fuels, is a heck of a lot better than diesel. And yeah, I don't see a real good potential out there for hydrogen. And I got to say that Nikki from Transport Evolved did a great little story on this last week. So I'll link to her video down below. But hey, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Do you think this is actually something that we should be seeing on our roads? And what's the hydrogen fuel like in your country? Let me know. Alright, the next several stories are going to tie very nicely together, and I kick it off with the luxury car tax. So, whilst I was having a break in June, the federal government raised the luxury car tax threshold for fuel-efficient vehicles, read like hybrid and battery electric vehicles, from $75,526 to $77,565, a whopping 2.6% increase. Ka-ching! Show me the money. For my international viewers who might be unfamiliar with this tax, let me explain some things, okay? So, this tax is at 33%. That means if you buy a car and it's over the $77,000 threshold, then every dollar above that amount is taxed at 33 cents in the dollar. For example, if you're buying a Model 3 Performance priced from $97,000 before taxes, you subtract the luxury car tax threshold and then multiply that by 0.33, leaving you with almost $6,000 in luxury car tax to pay. Plus, other taxes. Yeah. Okay, some might say, well, Chris, that's a small price to pay. But if you're buying something a little bit more pricey, say a Model X, you will pay more than $18,000 in luxury car tax alone. And that's all before the other taxes and taxes and, well, taxes. So I'm oversimplifying a bit here, and there's rules around when they put this on and when the calculating the GST and the other sort of jazz. But nonetheless, you can see quite clearly that there's significant taxes on electric vehicles in Australia. Introduced by the Howard government in 2000 and then later raised by the Rudd government from like 25 to 33%, it was like introduced to ensure that luxury cars remained less affordable than the locally built high-end cars, which, by the way, is like non-existent. This tax is now for what? Sorry about that. Okay, where was I? So, this threshold has essentially been unchanged for a decade, whilst conventional internal combustion engines, other vehicles we'll call them, increased from $57,180 to $68,740. That's like a 20% increase. And oh, P.S., it increased again this financial year by another $1,200. So, it got me thinking, will this 2.6% improvement shift people towards EVs? I asked my patrons in a simple poll, and they said that, well, overwhelmingly, nope, it's too little of a change. My thoughts? No. It will help ease the burden for buyers above that dollar amount, but I think it's very much a missed opportunity. They should have abolished it for like battery electric vehicles and increased the threshold to say $100,000, or yeah, completely like just get rid of it altogether. And then conversely, they should have reduced the other group by at least 10%, if not back to 20%, so that people who can actually afford a car in that price bracket will be looking very much at the Teslas and, well, the Konas and other sort of vehicles which are up in that 70,000 plus bracket and thinking to themselves, gee, I think maybe I'll get that instead. It's going to be cheaper for me to buy, and plus, well, it's going to be way cheaper for me to keep it running. So, what do you think? I'd love to hear from you. Put your comment down below and let me know if this would actually change, encourage people rather, into buying an EV or not. Staying on the theme of government incentives, here's another way that they can help speed up a transition to clean air. In late June, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB as I like to call them, because, well, who doesn't like carbs? I love carbs. Well, they adopted the Advanced Clean Truck Rule. That's like a regulation requiring medium and heavy duty truck and van manufacturers to transition to producing zero-emission electric trucks. The bill, which will begin in 2024, will mean that truck sales in California must be comprised of a certain percentage of zero-emission vehicles. See how hard that is, my government, okay? All you have to do is just write a little bit of law, approve it, and well, businesses will actually answer the call. Consumers will just buy something electric. That's the easy bit. A few details. 9% of new Class 7 and Class 8 trucks, that's like the largest class of trucks in the US, must be zero emission, and that percentage must increase to 75% by 2035. For vehicles in the tractor group, that is like this section, 5% of sales must be zero emission by 2024, reaching 40% by 2035. CARB announced that by the model year of 2045, every truck sold in California must be zero emission. Hashtag Ozpol. There you go, study trip done. Now you can get on writing with that legislation. Yeah, no, not the gas NCCC paper, no. Which country has the same size population as Victoria? Give up? Well, it's actually Norway. And this stunning Nordic country, like with its cold climates and, well, beautiful skies, I've been there like for all of 3 days, you know. When I was traveling, when that was a thing, Well, they're kicking goals in new EV sales, with more than 50% of every new car sold being an EV. And today, I want to focus on Oslo. It's like capital city, maybe? With more than 50,000 pure electric vehicles have been sold, meaning that it's actually the top in terms of number of electric vehicles per capita. I'm very proud of you guys. Detailed in the Driven, link is below, Oslo City has like a near zero emission target for 2030, and everyone, and I guess like everyone, is on board, with the city's climate department publishing quarterly climate barometer reports, which show that in the first quarter for 2020, new electric car sales within the city are hovering actually around 60%. 60%! And plug-in hybrids accounting for another 16%. And well, get this, and these guys, like the politicians, will love this. petrol and diesel car sales only accounted for just 15% of total sales. Could you imagine what our politicians would be like if this was like down here? What would they be doing? They'd be thinking about taxing EV drivers because, well, wait a second. So, well, this learned government is actually thinking ahead, aren't they? And at the city level, country level, they've done what our politicians seem to be, well, scared to do. You see, just in case you didn't know, Norway has like a lot of fossil fuel reserves, and like it or not, they get taxes and royalty payments from companies that extract this stuff from the ground. In turn, that goes into like a sovereign fund. Think of it as like a massive, and I mean massive, savings account designed to help build a nation with new schools, hospitals, libraries, infrastructure, and will help citizens buy clean green tech like electric vehicles. Amazing idea, right? Absolutely mind-blowing. So instead of giving fossil fuel companies basically like a free kick with their tax bill, yeah, this is Australian Tax Office data showing that some of our biggest polluters paid almost no tax whatsoever, whilst on the other hand, receiving more than $27 billion per year from taxpayers. That's basically like $50,000 per minute. So far, what are we up to with this video, Chris? Put it on screen now. All right, that's this much money just in this video so far. So, well, in Norway, they do things differently over there, don't they? So what do? They basically have no annual road tax, maximum 50% of the total amount on ferry fares for electric vehicles. EVs also get free parking. And this one I love. The EVs can actually drive on bus lanes. And then the company car tax reduction rate is up to like 40%. And they have no purchase or import taxes, and it's exempt from the 25% VAT, that's like GST, on purchases. Impressive, right? That obviously pales in comparison as to what our government is realistically not doing to help buyers get into like EVs. So Angus Taylor, Scott Morrison, now that you know that the weekend isn't ruined and that EV sales are going nowhere fast because of, well, zero help from you, it's about getting people into cleaner and greener cars. And to think that a little tiny change in the luxury car tax space is going to help people get into them, well, it's just not going to happen, is it? So for, I think, about 9 months now, we've been promised this EV policy that has been promised. And, well, you're talking about getting the country out of ICU. And I think it's about time you think about getting us into the 21st century with policies that make our lives better for everyone. One more story before mail time, and this one is sure to cause a rumble both in Tesla circles but also amongst the global car industry. Late last week, Elon Musk said during a Q&A session of the World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai, "I'm extremely confident that level or essentially complete autonomy will happen, and I think will happen very quickly. I think at Tesla, I feel like we are very close to level 5 autonomy." Now, we all know that Elon can be very optimistic sometimes, and it isn't the first time that he's said that we'll have fully autonomous cars. We're like right around the corner. Think back to just like April last year with Autonomy Day, or the infamous quote of coast to coast, that's like Los Angeles to New York, where he said that way back in 2016 for 2017. Are things different now? Well, maybe for example, I think, yeah, millions of autopilot miles have been done, and they've learned from that. They've recently added like traffic lights and stoplight sign control, and they're also, I believe, doing a complete rewrite of the autopilot software. So all of that is perhaps evident in this statement. I think there are no fundamental challenges remaining for level 5 autonomy. There are many small problems, and then there's a challenge of solving all those small problems and then putting the whole system together, and then keep addressing the long tail of problems. So you'll find that you're able to handle the vast majority of situations, to have the system figure out and to train to deal with these odd situations. This is why you need the kind of real-world situations. Nothing is more complex and weird than the real world. So perhaps by the end of this year, in the US at least, we'll start seeing the combination of all that into level 5 autonomy, and it actually will get into mainstream consumers. But are regulators ready? For companies like Waymo, where they're still actually very much bound to limited zones in what I would describe as quiet suburbia. What do you reckon? Do you think like Tesla is actually close? And well, like I've left a link to the actual video down below so you can go check it out yourself. And after you do that, yeah, drop me a line here. I'd like to hear from you. Okay, time for one of my favorite segments, and it's mail time. Last week's episode was about the NCCC board and its recommendation for like a gaslit recovery post-COVID. And a lot of comments were like these by Danny Turchi and Sean Whiteley. It's such a sad state of affairs that corruption is so blatant. Almost sad to be Australian. And I hope this video gets lots of views. I cannot believe how corrupt they are. And yeah, I've got to agree with you. Some of the media out there just loves jumping on to new big projects and the exciting things that go around that. And it was amazing in the 4 or 5 weeks that I had off how legislation was changing right before my very eyes. And a story that I felt that had been done and lost and well, was no longer relevant suddenly came back into the foray. And then there was a terrible Q&A session on the ABC, and they had no energy specialist on the panel whatsoever. And it was like, my gosh, what are we coming to here? So there was some like this where Peter Renai said, "Isn't it possible to take legal action to prevent this corruption?" You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But realistically, if they had good, proper terms of reference, then realistically, that entire board could not vote on matters such as this. You know, the declarations of conflict of interest at the start of a meeting, almost automatically excuse himself for the voting. It is simply ridiculous. And that, well, unfortunately, the government has set up this board very hastily and sanctioned them to do what they're being charged to do. And, well, yeah, it's just wrong on so many levels. Alright, so if you've got something to say, please do whack it down below. I actually do read them and don't always reply, but you might actually get your comments onto the show. So yeah, I'd like to hear from you. Alright, ready for some quick news bites? Let's get into this. The Mach-E, an iconic muscle car, which isn't this, but this. Maybe next time Ford? Well, our American friends can now officially convert their reservations to actual orders, and that Ford has squeezed a bit of extra power out of the motor. Details? The entry-level standard range, rear-wheel drive, and extended range battery pack variants, and well, all-wheel drive versions of the Mach-E, get an additional 8 to 10 kilowatts of power and 14 newton meters of torque. This means that power is marked at 198, 216 or 258 kilowatts of power as shown here, with torque now rated at 430 to 580 newton meters. Tesla's supercharging network recently hit a major milestone with the company installing its 2000th station in the world. With operating now 18,000 rapid charging stalls across the United States, Europe and the Pan-Pacific region, getting around in a Tesla has never been easier. VW has commenced works to convert their German factory, that's the Endem in Lower Saxony, where from 2022 the all-new electric compact SUV ID.4 is to start production. With costs anticipated to be close to €1 billion, the plant will be capable of producing 300,000 EVs per year. VW says we'll eventually see all electric models introduced to the factory, such as the Passat, the Arteon, and the new shooting brake. Next, is it a concept car or is it real? Check out Audi's latest EV offering, due out next year if I'm reading the press release correctly. Dubbed the coupe variant of the Q4 e-tron, this rather nice looking car has 2 electric motors capable of producing 225 kilowatts of power. Acceleration is good for such a large car with 0 to 100 times of just 6.3 seconds. A large battery with capacity of 82 kilowatt hours takes up almost the entire space under the body. Now, about the exterior, let me narrate this in a little bit of Austin Powers style, shall I? Yes, gorgeous, yes, no. That grille is terrible. It reminds me of like a basking shark. Thankfully, the sides and rear and what interior are classy and will no doubt make many Audi fans very happy. So, Audi Australia has indicated that this might be available in Australia next year. Watch this space. Well, here's a feel-good story to come out of the Australian bushfires. Volkswagen contributed $2.5 million in donations to various causes, and this one most notable due to its size. They're spending about $1 million to help reforest areas affected by the bushfires, working with Bush Heritage Australia and an independent non-for-profit group who also have ties with Indigenous people to help protect the local flora and fauna of native bushlands. They plan on planting trees on more than 110,000 square kilometres of land in WA, New South Wales and other parts of the country. I've left a link to the video and it's only like 3 minutes long, so please do go check it out. It will definitely warm your heart. Here's some welcome news from New South Wales. The state government has announced a new renewable energy zone for the New England region, which will attract 8,000 megawatts of generation capacity. That's like nearly the size of the state's entire fleet of coal-fired power plants. Capable of running more than 3.5 million homes, the multifaceted project will attract $12.7 billion in investment, support 2,000 construction jobs, and more than 1,300 jobs ongoing. And finally, one for your diaries for this week, Nissan will be unveiling via a virtual world premiere of the Ariya electric SUV on Wednesday, July 15 at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's like 2:30 p.m. in Adelaide or 1 p.m. over in Perth. Their reveal event will be broadcast globally from the Nissan Pavilion in Yokohama, and the link's below. Alright, that will about wrap it up for this episode, and how long has it been so far? So that's this much money to our Australian fossil fuel companies. Good job, Australian government. Meanwhile, EV incentives, luxury car tax, GST, I think there's more to be done here, and I will keep revisiting this from time to time, especially if there's anything important to say, such as like what Norway is at, and maybe, hopefully, we get some EV policy down under. In the meantime, if you want to help, get in contact with your local member. Let them know your thoughts about, look to Norway, look to this country. Just don't stay the status quo. Don't be happy with it. We can do better. Our emissions from road transport are like more than 25%. And some of the stuff that comes out of it, the PM 2.5 and other particulate matter that clogs up your lungs and causes premature death, asthma, and more, we can do without that. And the day that you get an EV on the road, the world becomes one better place. One car at a time, I mean. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway. So, if you enjoyed the show, please do subscribe. You want join me over here on Patreon with these awesome individuals. And otherwise, you be good and you be green.